This is a download from the BBC. To find out more and our terms of use, go to bbcworldservice.com/podcasts.
This is James Gamarasamy with NewsHour, recorded on Friday the 10th of May at 20 hours GMT. Coming up later on in the programme, greenhouse gases reach their highest concentration in the Earth's atmosphere for millions of years. And could 3D printing technology be taking crime fighting into a new dimension?
This is just the very beginning, and it will spread wildly throughout the world in the near future. Today, the role of borders, guards, and guns will be diminished by this type of technology because embargoes will be, in effect, meaningless.
Now, just days after the first plastic gun made with 3D printing technology was fired, it's become the target of the American government. The US State Department has ruled that the weapon could contravene arms control regulations. So the man behind it, Cody Wilson, has pulled the plug. He's told NewsHour that for the moment, his company, Defence Distributed, was complying with the government's request to take the blueprints for the weapon off its website.
So far, we've complied with the requests of the Secretary of State, which are somewhat interesting. They're saying, well, we don't know if we have the authority to regulate this information, but while we find out, we ask that you take the information down. So I think this has become an intensely important debate about the freedom of information and the freedom of regulatory control of the Internet. When we liberalized information through the Internet and through distributed technologies, it was always going to mean that people were going to be able to do things like this. Maybe that's not a good enough excuse for people, but I'm trying to call some of these technologists and futurists on their bluff and say, look, I think these technologies mean this, and this is going to be a future of the freedom of access to firearms, medical devices. I want that future where anyone and everyone can be able to make a gun, and any government and any media organization realizes that this is a very real and material possibility.
Cody Wilson, well, the plans may be offline now, but not before more than 100,000 people manage to get access to them on the internet. So, what are the implications of this new technology? Well, Marc Goodman is a future crime expert. His Future Crimes Institute has been working with Interpol, the United Nations and NATO on the effects of scientific and technological progress on crime and crime fighting. So, how easy would it be to go from a blueprint to manufacturing a gun?
It's not very difficult at all, particularly if you know anything about 3D printing or 3D manufacturing. All you really need to do is get a hold of that CAD file and send it to the right type of 3D printer. The cost of those printers today at the high level is about $8,000. That was the type of printer that Cody used to create the handgun. But in the future, the cost of the printers will drop precipitously, and 3D printers will be as common in people's homes as laser and inkjet printers are today.
And what about the materials needed?
Very easy to come by, readily available. The same type of material that allows you to print a firearm allows you to print a toy for your child or a piece of Lego.
The implications are obviously staggering of all of this. Where does this lead us, do you believe?
In my personal view, this is just the very, very beginning. We are at the most earliest precipient days of this type of manufacture, and it will spread wildly throughout the world in the near future. Today, we might be concerned about people printing 3D handguns. We've already seen parts printed for semi-automatic weapons like the AR-15. But frankly, a technology like this really changes the nature of the entire nation-state transnational relationship. A few hundred years ago, the British Navy could send out an armada and enforce a blockade when they did not want specific goods to get to another country. Today, the role of borders, guards, and guns will be diminished by this type of technology because embargoes will be, in effect, meaningless.
So if current methods such as embargoes are ineffective, will law enforcement agencies simply have to come up with new ones?
I think that they certainly will. I mean, 21st century technologies, particularly from the criminal side, are vastly outpacing the public policy, law, and law enforcement systems that we have today. And you think about it, what's changed with 3D printing is it's the exchange of information. It's the change from 3D printing is taking every physical object in our world and turning it into an information technology. And that is a big challenge for law enforcement.
Where might it go?
Well, right now these weapons are being printed in plastic, but the fact of the matter is you can use any type of substrate to put into a 3D printer. So certain restaurants are now starting to 3D print in chocolate. There are people looking at 3D printing in cement to create houses. You can certainly 3D print in metal. Currently, those printers are more expensive today, but the price of those will drop. So you will be able to print any type of device you want, whether in chocolate, metal, or plastic. From a public safety and security perspective, I'm concerned that as the size of the printers increases, you'll be able to print other unpleasant objects or objects that people find objectionable. So, for example, you can print a bazooka. You could print a silencer for a firearm. You could print parts required for a bomb or a nuclear processing plant. One thing that people aren't prepared for is intellectual property theft, which will be vastly expanded via 3D printers. In the future, you'll be able to take any physical good and hold it in front of a device like a Microsoft Kinect, have that device scanned, and then the plans for it will be sent to a CAD file and can be sent off to a 3D printer. So this is a fairly revolutionary technology, and I believe this is just the beginning.
Marc Goodman, future crime expert there.